Thank you. I have three questions for you right now. One, I was looking at the summary of public engagement, and I note that you have 405 people that have contributed feedback to this. We live in a city, I'm estimating, at 640,000 people, and we're talking about large-scale public events. I'm concerned that that is too small a sample of feedback. Could you comment on that, please?
Thank you for that comment. The bulk of our engagement certainly focused on those with experience organizing events of all sizes. So from block party through to our most major and largest events. And so the 400 number matches up nicely against the 600 events that we have in the city. I would also just want to point out that we did align our process with the culture shift engagement, and so we're able to kind of hear some of the key themes by also participating and hearing some of the feedback that came through that process. And so the engagement that pointed on the 405 was really about that. That's really geared at how we fine-tune our event process and those that are experiencing pain points as a result of our current systems.
Fair enough. And we've talked about the pressure that there is on event organizers, and I'm concerned about the pressure that there is on taxpayers. So what I'm curious in, we've seen an ask here for $730,000 here. How, and this process started, as we've heard, in 2016. How is this ask comparing to what we've seen every year since 2016, please?
So the offset structure for special events has been more or less stable since, I would say, 2004, where we've had a similar offset structure. In 2013 is when the civic parade status was introduced, and that was the kind of the status quo until May of 2018, when there were some temporary measures introduced to address some of the pain pressures that we're discussing today. And so with that, I'm just doing some quick math. Our annual budget is 330 odd for offsets. And do you know what the subscription of the incremental increase from last year has been? What the increase was as a result of the offsets? You can. So the shorter answer to your question, thanks as I worked through that mental math, we've typically been at about $250,000, and then with the temporary increases last year, we're in the low 300s.
So we're more than doubling then?
We are more than doubling, correct.
Okay, well, again, I come back to the pressure on the taxpayer and the burden that we're putting on them when we're getting relatively small feedback from the public on this kind of activity. My final question is, you were looking at comparisons with Vancouver and looking at places like New York City and Seattle. You mentioned Calgary, but I'd be more interested in hearing about other Canadian cities of comparable size. Did you look at Ottawa? Did you look at Halifax? Did you look at Winnipeg?
Certainly, we did have to limit the scope as a result of time and just the consultant budget available for the research, and so chose cities that have kind of similar goals around special events, around enabling events, as well as sometimes it's difficult to do an apples-to-apples comparison depending on how the offsets are structured. And so all that to say, we don't have data for the other Canadian cities that you mentioned.
Well, thanks, but I'd suggest that New York City is not an appropriate comparable. But thank you.